Good afternoon, Dr. Cortez, and welcome sa ating lesson today, subject productivity and quality tools. We have a new topic for today, and I'm going to present first the outcomes, objectives ng ating lesson today, and I will take you responsible for reading, understanding yung ating mga objectives, or at the end of the lesson, ito yung mga things that you're capable of doing. And I'm also presenting the topics to be covered. The measurement of productivity, type of productivity. So by the way, we are now in lesson number 8, week 8, 8th installment of our lesson. And to continue, productivity and production, productivity benefits, total quality management or TQM. And we're also going to talk about the quality, the benefits of total quality management. Okay, so before I continue, yung mga hindi pa nakapag-subscribe sa aking channel, requesting all of you guys to click that subscribe button. Salamat. Okay, so as we move on, production. We have been talking about production for the past several meetings in relation to the business. Productivity is the output. Just a review of what we have been taking up for the past several meetings. Productivity is the output of any production process per unit of input. Yan. So, pag nag-measure tayong productivity, may dalawa tayong kina-compare, no? Yung output, yung finished products, for example, and the input or sometimes the resources ng ating ginagamit sa ating mga business. And to increase productivity means to produce more units with less input. So iba ang production. Later on, we're going to compare production versus productivity. Kasi they are two different things. Magkaiba yung productivity sa production ating pinatawag. Okay. So basically, pag sa productivity, you are producing more goods. Increase the goods or finished goods ating pinaproduce using a fewer units of input or resources. Since we have different types of business in factories and corporations kasi, pag sinabi natin productivity, we measure productivity by our ability to create goods and services given a certain amount of capital, materials, land, resources, knowledge, time, or any combination. So pag sinabi natin output, ito yung mga nagagawa natin or mga finished goods or finished products ng isang worker, isang production, isang department, or isang company, or isang unit. Then we compare that with the input. Pag sinabi natin input, it can be units of labor, ilang manpower hours ang ginamit. It can be capital or it can be amount of money. Pag sinabing input, it can be number of materials used. It can be land, resources, knowledge, time, ilang oras. Yung mga input natin. Then we compare the input with the output so that we can know if may productivity na nangyari or wala. Moving on, measurement of productivity. We have been talking about this one. Yung the formula, the basic formula in measuring productivity. We have the output and you have the input. We just divide the output divided by the input, and the result is your productivity. So the amount of output per unit of input. So we divide the output by the units of input sa isang production. For example, in a factory, productivity can be measured based on the number of hours it takes to produce a goods. Sabi natin kanina, ang time o oras sa production natin, it can be the input na ginagamit natin in producing goods or services. Example, nakapag-produce ng 200 units. Sabihin natin sabihin natin isang oras, isang araw, or isang linggo. Isang linggo, we're able to produce 200 units. Tapos, ang ginamit nating oras sa loob ng isang linggo in producing the 200 units is 20 hours. So, that is 10. Baka magtaka, no? Isang linggo, 20 hours. Depende sa yan. Depende sa product na ginagawa natin. Yung products na sobrang tagal gawin, yung products na sobrang bilis gawin. Right? For example, mga equipment or appliances na ginagawa natin. Isang linggo, naka 200 units tayo. Kaya matagal siyang gawin kaya we spend 20 hours. Some productivity is 10. That is 200 units produced by 20 hours. That is 10 units. Kaya ito yung ating pinaka-benchmark, no? This week, 10 units ang ating productivity. And pag next week, pag yung 10 ay naging 11, it means the productivity increases. But if the 10 goes down to, let's say, 9, productivity decreases. Ayan. Pero, I know, no, na as we go along with the production process, nasasanay na tayo pag gamit ng mga production facilities. So, dumadami ating production. Malay natin, di ba? Using the same 20 hours, next week, we can be able to produce 210 units. Kasi nasanay na tayo. Or familiarity, increase productivity. Or in a service industry naman, ito magkaiba no? Mga business na service-based. Productivity might be measured based on the income naman generated by the employee divided by his or her salary. Kasi siyempre, pag service-based ang natin ginagamit, wala tayong units na puproduce. Kasi service. Diba? But we can measure productivity by dividing yung total income mo na na-earn sa loob ng isang linggo. Or the total income earned by a department sa loob ng isang linggo. Or the total income earned by a company sa loob ng isang linggo. Assuming 500,000 pesos income ang ating nabenta sa loob ng isang week ng isang department. For example, isang week to 500,000. Okay? Now, ang ginastos ng company in producing the 500,000 benta ay 5,000 salary per week. Ito yung mga binayad natin sa mga empleyado natin sa loob ng isang linggo. Total salary, 5,000 salary per week. Okay? For example, meron kang 5 empleyado. Binabayaran mo sa 1,000 per week. So, 1,000 times 5. Isang linggo, ang binayad mong sweldo ay 5,000 salary per week. That is the input. Ang output, yun nga, ang output natin, we're able to generate an income or benta na 500,000 income per week. So, divide natin, 500,000 divided by 5,000 salary per week. Our productivity is 100. So, pag naging 110 yan, next week, it means the productivity increases. Right? Now, let's move to the next. Productivity is the ratio of output. So, ito yung ating basic formula. No? Basta ang ating numerator, yung nasa taas ang fraction is the output. Or ito yung result. It can be number of units, it can be income. Tapos sa input, sa ilalim. So, marami tayong klaseng input. Sabi ko kanina, the input can be the resources na ginagamit natin sa ating mag-produce ng output. So, the resources can be yung land. Example, ikaw ay nasa isang farming, diba? Tapos, sa loob ng isang taon, you're able to generate income using a certain acre of land. Yung land dito yung input. Ito na sa ilalim. Okay? And the input can also be the salaries paid. Tulad kanina sa ating service industry, di ba? The input natin na ginamit is the salaries paid to employees. Yung denominator yon sa ilalim. Or it can also be the amount paid to purchase materials. Yan, example, meron kang gagamitin mga materials na gagamitan sa production. Okay? Then you were able to produce a certain number of goods or equipment. Yun ang output. Ang input ay yung mga materyales na ginamit sa ilalim. Then you produce, you're able to get the productivity by dividing. No? Or pwede rin amount spent in infrastructure. Basta pag sinabi natin input, ito yung pinapasok natin, no? Na equipment or resources sa production. Yan ang input di ba? Ang output, ito yung result. Can be amount or number of units produced. Yan, yung ating basic way of producing or computing yung ating mga productivity. Okay, so example, we have two cases. No? In case A, 10 products are made by spending 1,000 pesos. Okay? So, ang ating output sa case A is 10 products. Output. No? Ang input natin is 1,000 pesos. That is the capital used in producing the 10 products. Sa case B naman natin, we produce 15 products, so that is the output. Ang ating input, we spent 2,000 pesos. That is the input. Then we get the productivity ng dalawang cases. So 10 divided by 1,000. Output divided by 1,000 input. So 0.01 yung ating productivity. Then sa case B natin, 15 output divided by 2,000 input. Productivity is 0.0075. Siyempre, mas productive yung A. Kung di natin tinitingnan yung number of units na na-produce, okay, sige, nakapag sa case B, you are able to produce 15. Sa case A, 10 lang. Pero hindi natin tinitingnan yan. Okay? Productivity yung tinitingnan natin. Naka 15 ka, kaya lang, 2,000 ginastos mo, di ba? Nakagastos nga kayo, pero magastos. Hindi sa productive. In case B kasi, it is an indication of reduced productivity, di ba? Tumaas ang ating production. Sabi ko kanina, ibang production sa productivity. Tumaas ang production mo from 10 to 15, di ba? So, tumaas ka ng 5. Pero, mas maraming resources ang yung ginamit. That is 2,000. Kaya it resulted 2.075. Mas mababa ang productivity ng case B. Alright. So, let's go to the next slide natin. Ayan. So, we have two types of productivity. The partial productivity and the total productivity. Dito pala malalaman natin, di ba? Pag sinabing partial, hindi lahat. Pag sinabing total, lahat kasama. Pero, ano mga sinasabi natin? Alin mga isasama lahat para matawag natin yung total? Alin yung mga kalahati lang para masabi natin partial productivity? So ito yung mga the resources of productivity when measured separately are called partial productivity. Sabi natin kanina, we have different types of measuring productivity. Yung input natin, yung output natin iba-iba, di ba? The output can be a number of units produced, the number of income generated. Yung input naman natin, iba-iba din yung ating input, iba-ibang resources natin, di ba? It can be total of hours, it can be total material, it can be total amount of money, it can be total salary spent. Sinabi nating input. So pag isa-isa yan, example, we measured productivity based on salaries spent. We measure productivity based on materials spent. We measure productivity based on total number of hours spent. So, partial. Right? So, ito sample lang. Partial productivity, output in a given period, divided by the labor hours used in a period. Sa ating input dito, specific, no? Based on total number of hours used. That is one aspect of measuring productivity. Isang input lang ginamit natin. Tinawag natin isang partial productivity. Kasi itong sa ilalim, itong input natin, sabi natin kanina, it can be number of hours, it can be number of materials, it can be number of salaries, it can be acres of land, no, na ginamit. So, maraming resource ang ginagamit natin sa input. Kaya tinawag natin siyang partial productivity. Okay, so itong pwede natin magamitin in measuring productivity. The input factor na pwede natin gamitin. So we have 8 factors na pwedeng gamitin, di ba? It can be number of employees. Yung input natin sa ilalim, it can be number of employees. Pwedeng 3,000 employees ang gamitin mo. Okay? The input can be cost or yung salary. Tapos 4,000 per week ang ginamit natin. Or it can also be the input or the resources used can also be the capital employed by the company. So it can be 500 million. Energy consumed, number of client dealt with, number of new clients, number of computer used, material cost example, and other expenses or other resources na pwedeng gamitin. So yun, yung ating input na pwedeng gamitin. Yan, to measure productivity. So para mas maraming component ng input, compared sa output. Ang output kasi, or yung result, it can be number of products, di ba? It can be income generated. Yan, ang natin. Ang output kasi pwede siyang in units or pwede siyang in peso. Pwede siyang benta or number of piraso. Pag sinabi nating output. Okay, so moving on. Sa productivity pa rin tayo. The method of calculating productivity. So I just want to reiterate. Considering all the resources, total productivity. Pag sinabi nating partial, isang resource lang ating ginagamit. Pag sinabing total, lahat ng resource na ginamit natin. To measure productivity. So, pwede ng number of people, number of capital, number of materials, di ba? Salary spent, or number of computers used, yan total. Pag ginamit natin lahat ng resource or input, lahat ng possible input, ito yung tinatawag nating total productivity. Okay? So, input, pwede yung amount na ginamit. Or pwede yung oras na ginamit. Ayan. So, marami kasing component ang total quality, You can measure based on time. You can measure based on cost na ginamit. Based on salary. Or number of hours na ginamit sa isang production. Pag lahat ng ginamit mo, in measuring productivity, hindi lang isang component, you are talking about total quality. Total productivity. Alright, so let's move on. Total productivity provides a systematic framework and structure to an organization and increase profitability. So ano ba yung reason? Bakit meron tayong total productivity? If you want to know yung talagang totality, hindi lang isang component, gusto malaman productive ba talaga? So you can use many inputs, hindi lang isa. Kasi pag isa lang, at lumabas ay productive or tumaas ang productivity, baka it is misleading. Isang component lang ginamit, di ba? Pero pag marami tayong input na ginamit, so I think the result is more relevant compared to partial productivity. Ayan. So, total productivity, total output divided by lahat ng input na ating ginamit. Materials, hours, number of computers, number of people, or salaries na ginamit. Yan ang total input. Mas relevant siya, pag ginamit natin yung total productivity. Alright. So, sabi ko kanina, iba ang production sa productivity. Hindi porke marami kang nagawang products or output does not mean na productive or merong productivity. Pinakita natin kanina, di ba? Case A, 10 ang nagawa. Case B, 15. Pero ang nabastong kanina, mas productive yung case A. Kasi iba ang, that is productivity. Pag nag-base tayo sa production, kung sinong pinakamarami nagawa, that is based on production. Pero sabi ko, hindi porke marami nagawa ay productive. Mamaya na, marami kang nagawa, kaya lang mas magastos. That is production, hindi sa productivity. Okay? So the production is indicated by output quantity. Paramihan, no? Pag sinabi nating production, mas marami nagawa. That is production, di ba? Samantalang productivity, iba. So, although they are closely related in concept in economics and business, they refer to different aspects of the output process. If you will just refer on the output, that is production. Pag marami nagawa, pag maraming output, tumaas ang production. Pag sinabing productivity, we use the output and the input. Okay? So, madaling malaman, di ba? Pag productivity, output, input gamitin mo. Pag sinabing production, just the output. Paramihan. Right? So, that is the basic basic difference between production and productivity. Okay, so, let's move on sa productivity. Yan, ulitin na naman natin, di ba? Ang productivity kasi, we are talking about the efficiency. Mas marami nagawang output, mas marami nagawang product using a lesser number of input. Kaya nga sabi natin kanina, pag sinabing productivity, dalawang hinahanap natin, the output and the input. Because we are getting the ratio. Itong dalawa. Production, hindi. Ang productivity, it focuses on improving efficiency. Yung nakakatipid tayo sa ating mga operation. Getting more output from the same amount of resources, the same amount of materials, the same amount of capital, the same amount of people. Or, pero ang ginagamit natin is fewer resources. Pero ang production, ang output tumataas. Okay? Pero ang mga resources, the same. Isa tumataas. Ang tumataas yung output. Pero ang input, hindi. That is efficiency. Yan ang focus ng productivity. Example, if a factory produce 100,000 units with 10 workers in 8 hours and after some improvements, the same factory can produce 120 units with the same number of workers and hours. Right? So, 100 units na puproduce ng 10 tao sa loob ng walang oras. And after sometimes, yung 100, naging 120 units. The same number of people, the same number of hours. That is productivity. Is it possible? Yes, pwede siyang possible. Kasi pag sabi ko kanina, pag nasanay ka na nagawin or nasanay ka ng gumagawa ng mga product, bumibilis ka na eh. O dumadami na pala ang iyong mga nagagawa. Pero pag bago ka pa lang sa isang product, sa isang unit, isang assembly lang, isang factory, medyo mabagal ka pa. Medyo mabagal pa yung 10. Pero yung 10 taong to, pagkatapos ng siguro, pag after 1 week or after 2 weeks, papapansin mo, di ba? Yung kanilang production, tumataas na. So, nagiging mas productive na sila. So, for 100 units, it goes up to 120. So, that is productivity. What is the impact of being productive? Why do we have to study productivity? Of course, ang unang-una, it will result to profitability. Bakit profitability? Mas marami nagagawang units, nadagdagan ng 20. At the same number of people, the same salary, the same cost. So, cost savings and advantage for the company. So, imagine, ang sweldo ganoon din, di ba? Pero, dadagdagan ng kanilang nagawa, naging 20. That is efficiency na. Now, pag sinabing production naman, we don't have the word here na efficiency. Pag sa production kasi, just the process of creating goods and services. We are looking for the actual quantity of output produced by using various resources. So dito, ang production tumataas. Okay? Yung output tumataas. Pero yung mga input tumataas din. Diba? So hindi siya efficient. Naging 120, pero ang sweldo sa mga tao, ang total number of hours, tumataas din. So hindi nagbago ang ratio, di ba? Kasi ang focus ng production is on the total amount of goods or services generated. On the total. So, never mind kung tumaas ang gastos, basta tumaas ang output, that is production. We're not talking about efficiency dito. We're not talking about good ratio. For example, a car manufacturer producing 1,000 cars per month is concerned with production. The total number of cars produced represents the production level. So, yung 1,000, if it goes up to 1,200, di ba? Walang nakalagay na input, di ba? Wala tayong pinag-usapang input dyan, kundi yung output lang na 1,000 cars. So, never mind if tumaas ang gastos, basta yung production tumaas din. Kasi we're talking about production at productivity. Right? So what is the impact? Increasing production can lead to higher sales and revenue, but it does not necessarily mean productivity. Okay, kita niyo yung difference, no? Pag productivity, ang impact, balikan ko yung aking slide. Pag sinabing productivity, okay, pag sinabing productivity ng impact, profitability. Right? Impact is profitability. Pag production, ang impact, hindi profitability, but increasing higher sales and revenue. Take notes, in business, ibang revenue sa profit. Kasi ang revenue, yan total benta mo. Yan ang objective ng production. Makarami ng benta. Kaya gumagawa ng marami. Pero ang profit, hindi natin pinag-usapan ng profit. That's the revenue. Okay? Kasi pag tumaas ang revenue, it does not mean na ang profit ay tumataas din. Kasi pag tumaas ang revenue, pero ang cost ay tumaas din, yung profit the same. Hindi sa profitable, di ba? Samantalang sa productivity, ang impact is profitability. Sa productivity, ang impact is profitability. Sa production, ang impact is higher revenue, but not profitability. Okay, so let's move on sa ating next slide, difference. So nailatag na natin yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa, di ba? The difference between the two concept, production, and productivity. I just want to reiterate, pag sa productivity, measures the efficiency. Sa Tagalog, efficiency. Yung masinop, matipid yung operation ng company. Samantalang sa production, we're talking about the overall output ng company or ng production. So, sabihin, sa productivity, tumataas yung dumadami yung product na nagawa or the output. Pero ang input, ang gastos, the same. That is productivity. O talaga yung profit pag ganoon, tataas talaga ang profit. Diba? Samantalang pag sinabi natin yung production, yung number of units produced ay tumaas din. But at the same time, yung cost ay tumaas din. You can imagine, di ba? Walang masyadong pagbabago sa profit. May pagbabago pero konti lang talaga. So productivity improvements are often aimed at doing more with less. That is productivity. More output, more products used, but maybe the same number of inputs or gastos, or even less number of inputs or gastos. It happens. It is possible. Kapag tumataas ang production mo, ay yung gastos ay bumababa. Diba? Sa economics, it is possible diba? Pag ikaw ay nasanay na gumagawa ng mga products, habang tumatagal, napapabilis mo na yun diba? Dumadami ng production mo, naging more efficient na yung isang company. Yung mga materialis na ginagamit, kumukunti lang. Parang basic example, di ba? Pag gumagawa ka ng cake, yan. Unang gawa mo ng cake, masyadong magastos. Dami mong kalat na. Kapag yung mga Bombay mga Indians sa mga YouTube video, pag nagluluto sila, ang dami nilang wastage, dami nilang kalat. No? But normally, pag ikaw ay habang tumatagal, no, yung mga tawag dyan, yung mga natatapon, mga waste, no, nami-minimize mo na yun habang ikaw ay tumatagal. Kasi alam mo na paano i-minimize yung mga kalat, yung mga gastos. Yeah, that is productivity. Samantalang production, it may simply involve scaling up or increasing production. Pero yung efficiency, we are not talking about efficiency. So, as ang production, pero magastos din. Diba? So, that is not productivity. Alright, so let's continue. So, for example, a company produces 100 units. A company produces 100 units of a product per day. 100 units, no? Ang isang araw to isang araw. A company can be able to produce 100 units using 50 workers. Yan. Improve productivity if it starts producing 120. So, 100 peraso isang araw using 50. Now, if it goes up to 120, using the same 50 workers, that is productivity. Now, if the same company hires 10 more workers and produces 150 units per day, yung production, of course, di ba, from 100, naging 120, it goes up to 150. That is production. Tumaas ang output, tumaas ang production. Pero yung kanyang gastos ay tumataas din. Yan. So, tumaas ang production pero ang productivity ay bumaba. Oh, anyway, pinag-usapan naman natin, there is production. We are not talking about productivity. Tumaas ang production, naging 150, no? Pero ang gastos tumaas din, that is production. Okay? So to summarize, in productivity is about efficiency, yung zero wastage, walang masyadong kalat. Samantalang production is talking about the total output or total number of products generated. Sa business, they are important. Because if you want to increase the revenue, mapadami lang yung mabenta. Number of units ang pinag-usapan. That is production. Okay? Pero if you are talking about profitability, so you go to productivity. So marami kasing goal ng business, hindi lang ng productivity, di ba? Kundi to capture more market. So if you want to capture more market, you will create more products. And that is production. Not necessarily profit. Kasi production target mo, not productivity. Alright, so let's move on sa next slide. Benefits ng productivity. Why is it important that you should be the concept of productivity sa business ay ating pinag-usapan? So, obviously, pag productive ang isang employee, one department or one company, it will result to profitability. Ang profitability more products produced at the same units of input. Yung gastos the same. Okay? So if you will imagine your income statement, mas marami yung benta, kunti ang gastos, more profit. So profitability yung isang obvious benefit ng productivity. And pag productive, siyempre, pag tumatagal yung isang employee sa kanyang trabaho, example, he's now working for the past 6 months, no? Yung kanyang mga wastage or mga cost, materials na ginagamit, ay nami-minimize yan. It lower the cost. It lowers the operational cost ng isang company. Now, pag may productivity, we maximize the use of all the company's resources. Pag nasanay ka na ginagamit mga resources, you will now have the proper way, proper technique how to maximize the usage of your resources. Example, you will now have more know-how on how to use properly equipment, machineries. Dati, di masyadong alam gamitin mga equipment, di ba? Masyadong magastos sa kuryente. Pero pag productivity, itong mga input na ginagamit natin, the factory workers, number of hours, machineries, land, capital, ay efficiently used na. Gain a greater share of the market. Pag productive, profitability, pag profitable ka na, you will now have more capital to be invested sa expansion ng iyong company or product. And of course, more cash flow mean more opportunity for the company to expand and grow. Although, pag cash basis ating ginamit, pag marami kang profit, marami ka ring cash inflow na pag marami nagbabayad ng cash, no? More profit means more cash inflow. So, you can have more capital or cash to be used in growth and expansion ng iyong company. Alright. So, itong last topic natin for the day, pinapasadahan lang natin ng konti ang TQM or Total Quality Management. An approach that seeks to improve quality and performance which will meet or exceed customer expectations. And TQM looks at the overall quality measures used by a company. Tanda natin guys, no, sa ating mga company, meron tayong tinatawag na continuous improvement sa ating mga company natin. Sabihin, if you are improving this year, don't rest and be complacent. Kasi there are still more rooms for improvement sa lahat ng aspect ng iyong lahat ng aspect. So we should be constantly upgrading ang ating mga ginagawa ng ating mga operation sa ating mga So always look for the improvement opportunity. So there's always what we call the opportunities for improvement sa loob ng ating operation. Kasi the market are constantly changing, the preference or the taste of the market. The customers are always changing. So ganun din tayo, di ba? Sinasabayin natin yung market natin. We should not be stagnant. So through constant research, we improve yung ating mga products or ating mga services. And of course, meron tayo dito mga benefits of TQM. Why is it that we should embrace total quality management sa ating mga company? Siyempre, ability to be more competitive. Pag tutulog-tulog ka, di ba? And you are not improving, samantala mga kalaban mo are always improving. Tapos ikaw ay hindi. So, maungusan ka nila, di ba? So, be always constantly on guard, monitoring, watching, always doing competitor analysis, kung anong ginagawa nila improvements. Tapos sinasabayin natin sila. Diba? O pag ginagawa natin yan, di ba? Mga customers pupuntahan sa'yo. And it will increase your market share. Pag talagang you are monitoring ano yung latest trend ng mga customers. So, pupunta sila sa'yo. And pag ginawa natin yan, di ba? Cost reduction ang mangyayari. Pag nag-improve tayo, pag mga example, pag mayroon kang quality control, you minimize the waste, di ba? Improve on how to minimize the waste. That is cost reduction on the part of the company. Minimizing materials wastage, cost reduction. And if we are constantly knowing ano yung mga needs ng market, needs ng ating company, how to improve the product, at nangyari nga yan, di ba? You are responsive enough, flexible. Kasi na-anticipate mo na yun eh. You are anticipating, you are forecasting, you are inventing. the future. And we have been witness sa mga nangyayari sa ating mga sariling companies that we are constantly changing. Right? Example, dati masyadong maraming tao but employees ang gumagawa. But if we simplify, if we streamline yung process ng isang company, yung wala masyadong pinagdadaanan. If we can reduce the number of people, the number of employees na gumagawa sa isang department, it will reduce cost. At the same time, it will simplify the process. Itulad dati maraming signatories, no? Maraming masyadong nagsasign, maraming pinagdadaanan, very bureaucratic. Masyadong magastos. Okay? But through improvement, we can simplify. And improve communications, that is part of TQM no? Pag simplify yung process, less people, less bureaucratic. You can simplify with just a few signatories. No? Or instead na masyadong maraming layers of management, if we can have a flat organization or mga dalawang levels lang ng organization, na hierarchy, if we can simplify, so it can improve communication na madaling yung lateral communication, vertical communication, kasi konti na yung levels, no? That is part of simplifying. And last benefit of TQM, less frustration and more satisfaction among the workforce. So unahin natin yung benefit ng mga taong nasa loob ng ating mga company. Sila yung unang mag-benefit dapat ng total quality management. Example, streamlining of production, streamlining of communication sa loob ng company. If you have ISO, you have all the manuals. Alam mo na alam ng lahat ng gagawin kasi naka-manual. Diba? Meron silang mga standard procedure na sinusunod sa lahat ng aspect ng operation ng isang company. So more satisfied yung mga tao. Then, more satisfied, should be translated. The market or the customers or the client of the organization. Kasi pag hindi masaya yung empleyado, how do you expect them to be more good communicator with the customers, di ba? Pag masaya ka, can be translated in your interaction with the customers of the organization. So that is the interaction naman. Alright, so this one is my last slide for today, and we have done another lesson, another video recording. So don't be satisfied with just one slide. So hoping you guys that will be listening to me for my future videos recording. So until next time, people, see you around, guys. Dr. Gordy signing off.